Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you are incredibly well. It's Andrew Hawks here. You can call me Doc Drew. And it's great to be here with you again this morning for some coffee and some crypto. We're going to demystify or delve a little bit deeper into the crypto space and the crypto sphere this morning over the next 3/4 an hour, drinking coffee until it gets cold. Actually, as I said yesterday, it gets better when it's cold anyway, so I'll probably continue to drink it at that point. But if you are just joining me for the first time, of course, you can find out more about me, who I am, what I do, who I help over at drewsdaily.com. So feel free to jump on over there and get the downloadables, the free stuff that's there for people that are aimed at helping you find out how to unpack your individual sovereignty, not your sovereignty, your financial sovereignty, how to navigate the DeFi space and how you can sort of make it work for you. But this morning we're just going to have again, just another fireside chat, just having a bit of a coffee and a bit of a corridor, as Ruben said yesterday, bit of a chat. Actually, might have been a couple of days ago. Anyway, we're going to talk about a few topics this morning. It's one topic, but a few things within that topic, because there's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of jargon that gets thrown around crypto, like HODL. I mean, who the hell thought that HODL was a good idea? And of course, if you're not sure what HODL stands for, it stands for hold on for dear life. Not really. It stands for hold. But there was a typo years and years ago on a forum when somebody was saying, hold your crypto, don't sell it, which is not bad advice, depending on which coin you have or which token you have. Speaking of coins and tokens, we're going to dive into a little bit of that as to what the difference is, because you hear those terms get thrown around a lot. You know, hey, I've got this token, or hey, I've got this coin. Do you? Do you have a coin or do you have a token? Do you know the difference? So we have a little bit of a chat around that. But the term HODL come from a forum from years and years and years ago. Somebody mistyped hold and it just stuck. So here we are, HODL, H-O-D-L, HODL, which essentially means to hold on to whatever it is you've got. Hold on for dear life, right? Hold on to whatever you've got because it'll probably go up in value. And that's what people want to be looking at. Now, I'm in another place today. As I said yesterday, it wasn't going to suit our purposes. This one's much better. We've got a beautiful view of the beach. It's an older apartment, but it's cool. The location is great. It's not too far from where we recently were. In fact, it's just in front, but that's okay. It's all good. So you often hear people talk, or you'll hear somebody say to you, or you may have heard somebody say to you, they might have come up and said, hey, you need to grab this token, or you need to grab this coin, or you need to grab this, or you need to grab that. But the problem is, what is it? What is a coin and what is a token? What differentiates the two? It's pretty simple, but I'll be honest, I never knew until recently either. It makes perfect sense when you hear it, when it's broken down. And again, guys, I'm no expert. I'm just an enthusiast, and I'm here to share what it is that I've learned and the things that have come up for me. And I've helped countless people, particularly over the last 6 months, navigate this space and get into a position where they can fully take advantage of it. Now, if you can hear stuff in the background, it's because my son is getting ready to go to work. It's 6:30 or 6:20 in the morning. He's really excited about being up this early. No, he's not. But anyway, so it's something, again, that until recently I was like, oh, of course, it makes sense, duh. But the difference between a coin and a token is essentially the nativity to the chain. So Bitcoin, for example, is a coin because it runs on its own blockchain. Ethereum is a coin because it runs on its own blockchain. Solana is a coin because it runs on its own blockchain, right? So here we go. If we come back to Ethereum, because that's probably the most common one that people have built on till this point. Now, Ethereum is a reasonably developer-friendly chain. There are other friendlier chains out there and easier to launch on and cheaper. We can talk about that at a later date, but the fact is there are many tokens built on the Ethereum chain. So just in that languaging, you can probably hear the difference. A coin is native to the chain. A token is something that is built on the chain. So what would be a good example? DAI, which is a stable coin, but it's built on the Ethereum chain. USDT is a stable coin. See, the terminology starts to get a little bit funny, doesn't it? Because people go, well, it's a stable coin. Technically, yeah, it is. It's stable because it's tethered, USDT, tethered to the US dollar. notwithstanding politics and all the bullshit that's going on in the world right now, it's stable. We know that if we've got 100 of them, we could exchange that for 100 US dollars, right? That's basically what that premise comes down to. But the fact is, and not just on the Ethereum chain, USDT is also on Tron. It's also on the Binance Smart Chain. It's also, it is on a number of chains. So it is a token because it's not native to those chains. It runs on top of those chains. So Bitcoin, coin. Ethereum, coin. Apertum, coin. USDT, token. USDC, token. DAI, token. So there's a distinct difference. If it has its own native chain, it's a coin. Hopefully that sort of makes a little bit of sense for you. Now, if I could give you an analogy about it, it's kind of like highs that are built by the government, right? And yeah, I've got a few notes because I want to make sure that you get this stuff right. It's kind of like it's built by the government. Tokens are the cars and the trucks that use the roads. So the government build the road, that'd be the highway. So Bitcoin would be the government. And the tokens, USDT, USDC, they drive on the road. And that's probably the easiest analogy that I could give you for it. How are we looking here? So, we might. That, when you think about it, when you break it down, that actually makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. But for the longest time, I was like, yep, coins, tokens, same. No, I knew inherently there was a difference, but I didn't know what. And that is exactly what it is. Your coin runs native to the chain. Your token runs on the chain. Now, about 3-4 years ago, maybe 5, 6 maybe, around the last halving of Bitcoin, not last year because it halved last year. When I say it halved, the distribution of it halved. So that's Bitcoin's deflationary mechanism kicking in. Ciao. I'm good, brother. I'm good. I hope you're good. Como estai? So where was I going with it? Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago, it was around the last halving of Bitcoin, which again is its own deflationary mechanism. Obviously, every 4 years or every X amount of blocks, which happens to be about 4 years, with the rate that it's being mined, it halves its distribution. So if there was 21 million available in total, which there was, then over the first 4 years or first X amount of blocks, there was only going to be 10.5 million released to the market. And then it halved. It went to 5.2 million. And then it halved again. It went to 2 point whatever million. And so on and so forth. So around the last halving, not last year, around the year, the halving prior to that, around, where are we at? Around 2000, about 2020, 2021, around there. 2020. There was a lot of hype, and even prior to that, there was a lot of hype around NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And a lot of people, there was a few people made a lot of money on that. There was a lot of hype went around it. There's a lot of people that spent a lot of money on some Bored Ape NFTs that realistically are now worth nothing. So you got to, again, do your own research. Do your own research, because it's always important to know what the use case is behind it. And there's some real use cases for NFTs, don't get me wrong. You can build a business within an NFT and then sell that NFT because it has real value. And if you want to know more about that, absolutely, I can show you. Now, if you want to know more about me, who I am, what I do, who I help, then of course you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. Rock over there, a couple of free downloads that you can have that will help you on your journey. And that's really what I'm about. It's funny, I listened to a great podcast this morning on my walk. It was freaking awesome. I may drop that in the comments somewhere later, but not today. Not today. Okay, so the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people go, well, what is an NFT? What is a non-fungible token? Well, to understand what a non-fungible token is, we need to understand what fungibility is, don't we? And fungibility is basically the ability to exchange one thing for something like itself. So if I had $100, okay, I could exchange it for $5 $20 notes and still have the same value. So it's fungible because now I've broken that one figure, 100, down into 5 $20 notes. So I've exchanged the value. The value is the same, but now it's in a slightly different format. I've got 5 $20 notes as opposed to one $100 note. So it's fungible. Whereas with an NFT, and fungibility or fungible, the term fungible, you'll hear that a lot through any of the finance circles in the world. It's true. You will. It's just how it is. Because money, right? But you're going to hear that term. Now, for the longest time, I was like, well, okay, I understand fungibility, but what about this whole NFT thing? What's non-fungibility? Well, you can't exchange like for like. Like you could have a Bored Ape NFT, for example, right? It's a piece of art and it's worth X amount of dollars. There's only one of them. You can't exchange like for like. There is no two NFTs that are the same as another. They might look similar, they may have similar characteristics, but they're not directly exchangeable for the same value generally. And this, what I gave you before about the business example with an NFT, is exactly that. Because you could have someone that is a gun at building a business. And this could be any business. It could be a personal branding business. It could be a networking business. It could be a PR and marketing business. You could be a gun at building it. And somebody else could build an identical business and not be as good. Now, if you've built those on an NFT, and why would you build it on an NFT? Let's go back there. Why would you build it on an NFT? Because as I've said a couple of times over the last couple of days, everything will be tokenized in the future. Everything will end up on the blockchain. Businesses, health records, cars, when I'm saying cars, car sales, property, all conveyancing will end up being done via smart contract on the blockchain. So that's going to do conveyances, legal conveyances that'll do them out of a job, because it'll all be done on blockchain, and AI will help with that. Even now, you can get not legal advice, but you can get legal direction from AI. It's well trained, well versed. If you ask the right prompts, you're going to get good responses. So the two businesses may look identical, but one may outperform the other. And if you've built it, and everything, when I say built it on an NFT, all the transactions, all the value run through the blockchain for that NFT. So you can literally visually see it. Go in and go, it's very transparent. No one can lie about it. No one can say, well, my business does this much. No, the NFT and the blockchain says it does this much. No one can fudge that. No one can lie about it. So that's why, or that's a good use case for an NFT, because then somebody's buying that NFT, they can see it. Everything's transparent on it. So that's the difference between fungible and non-fungible. Fungible coin or token means that you exchange like for like. Non-fungible means, nah, they're not alike. They're not the same. One may have a different value to the other, so therefore it's not directly exchangeable. You might be going, okay, well, we could give cash and a car or something like that, just to make the difference up. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. Hey, Jane, how you doing? Good to see you. Yep, sure. I'll be your morning coffee pal every day, not a problem. Around the same time every day. This is the time that works for me. I love it. This is my favorite time of the day. I love getting up early before anyone else. And it was even better before I had kids, because it was really my time. And then my boys arrived, and I love them. And my daughter was prior to that, but she always liked to sleep in. You know what girls are like sometimes. But if I was up in the morning, my boys had to be up in the morning with me. So that really cramped my style for the longest time. But funny enough, they don't like going for a walk with me at 5:30 in the morning. So go figure, I've got time for myself. Giddy up. He's sitting on the couch giving me a look. So we've covered coins and tokens, and we've covered fungibility and non-fungibility. And we've got a few people tuning in, so I hope you guys are good. If you care to drop in the chat or in the comments where you're listening from, that would be awesome. I'd love to know where people are tuning in from around the world. There you go. Jane was never a fan of getting up in the morning. Yeah. But it's definitely the best time of the day. It's clear. There's minimal noise. It's great. I love it. Now, the crypto space and the crypto sphere, and particularly now with everything that is going on, sadly, it is still a bit of the Wild West, because there's still less than 10% of the world's population that are involved in cryptocurrency. So it makes it a little difficult, right? People going, well, what do I do? I've been involved in a token before and it got rug pulled. And I mean, the biggest example, the most public example I could give you of a rug pull right now would be, I'm not sure if you remember the Hawk Tour girl. I can't remember her name. It might have been Haley. I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention. But I don't think she acted alone. I think she was taken advantage of, I'll be honest, because from the interviews I did see, she didn't seem that bright. Lovely girl, I'm sure. But somebody took advantage of her positioning, her public persona, and said, hey, we're going to launch a coin for you. All you need to do is this, this, and this. And she went out and did the interviews, and she really hyped this token up called Hawk Tour. I think they even called it Hawk Tour coin, but it wasn't a coin, was it? No, because a coin has its native chain. So this was built on a chain, so therefore it was a token. Hey, good to hear from Suriname, Netherlands. Hey, Trish, how you doing? Good to see you, mate. It's good to see you. Really good to see you. So, coming back to our Hawk Tour girl. Aotearoa, kia ora, ki te pihakwe. Okay, so Hawk Tour girl. And for those who are wondering, I just said good morning. How are you? I need to plug this in, otherwise we're going to go flat and you guys are going to lose me, and that would suck. Well, it would suck for me, not so much for you. There you go, we've got power now. So our Hawk Tour girl, coming back to her, she did interviews and people trusted her. She had a public level of trust because she was authentic. She was. She showed up. She no airs, no graces. She was just this girl that got her 15 minutes of fame and pumped this coin, Hawk Tour, or token. Pumped this token called Hawk Tour. And people put in their life savings. They put in, because they believed in this girl. They put in their life savings. They put in their kids' college tuition funds because they thought they were going to get a quick return. Now, if that had been in and out real quick, maybe they would have. But in all reality, the people that were marketing this token with her or building it in behind the scenes decided that as soon as all that money came in, they whipped it back out. That is called a rug pull. The token went to astronomical heights. People bought into the hype and went, yeah, I've got to get this token. I've got to get it. I've got to get it. I've got to get it. And then all of a sudden, bang, crashed. And people's life savings, college tuitions were wiped out because they trusted in this chick. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's a lesson for the people. But again, they didn't want to take responsibility for that either. They decided that, no, this was all her fault. I've lost everything and it's all your fault. No, it's yours. It's the person who took the action. You decided to back a chick, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That you didn't necessarily know everything about. You didn't necessarily know who she was in business with. And that's what I love about, it's both love-hate about blockchain. Particularly if you're looking at a native blockchain and a native coin, because it's all transparent. You can see it, everything. If you go back to 2009 for Bitcoin, you can literally see every transaction on the blockchain from the time of its inception. You can even see where the IP address on which it was launched from. If you know, you know, right? So you can see the IP address, you can see every single transaction on that blockchain. There's nothing hidden, nothing going, well, you can see the wallets that it went to, you can see the amounts that went to it. So that's what is important when you're starting to look at coins and tokens. And the reason I brought that up is we want to talk about utility. What is the token about? And what is the coin about? Does it actually serve a real purpose? Obviously with the Hawk Tour coin, and that's probably it is a real good example and it's pretty recent, there was no real utility. What was it going to do? I mean, if we look at meme coins, we look at Shiba Inu, we look at Doge, do they have real utility? No, probably not. They're really just speculative coins. Now, sure, you get someone like Musk who goes, oh, Dogecoin's going to the moon. Everybody buys into Dogecoin. What happens? The price goes up. And then what happens? The people that are holding a lot of it go, it's time for me to cash out. Bang. So you've got to look at utility versus hype. What is the coin going to do? Ethereum is a real good example of utility, right? Ethereum is the native coin for the Ethereum blockchain. Therefore, and you'll have seen this if you've ever sent, and maybe you're so new to the crypto world that you haven't done this yet, and that's okay. Man, the fees used to be astronomical, the gas fees. And that's why the Binance Smart Chain was born. That's why Tron was born, because the fees on Ethereum were ridiculous. But it had utility. Anytime somebody built on the Ethereum blockchain, anytime somebody moved value on the Ethereum blockchain, anytime somebody created a DAO on the Ethereum blockchain, and a DAO is simply just a decentralized, autonomous organization. There's no one person at the top. It's all run by smart contract protocols, so no one can pick it up. Right? That is important to look for. But there was utility on the Ethereum chain, and it got as high as just over $4,000. Oh man, I remember holding on to about 40 of them at $140. Might have been a little bit more. But I eyed this other investment up and was like, well, if I cashed out my Ethereum, all right, the things we do. I mean, you can't complain because you made the decision you made at the time. So I'm grateful for that experience, for the fact that I could look at that and go, well, that's what happened when I did that. Maybe I just need to hold on to this just a little bit longer. So Ethereum has great utility, and there's a number of tokens that do. Tron, TRX, it's its own blockchain as well. So it has its own coin, TRX. And therefore, it uses those for fees. Now, I said the fees used to be astronomical on Ethereum, and they freaking were. I remember trying to send $500 once, and it was going to cost me $100 in gas fees. And that's why other chains started popping up with less fees. So you've got to look at that. And I know of, and I'm not going to mention the blockchain's name, either of them, but I do know of a company, a commodities trading company, that is moving from one blockchain to another because it will save them $170 million a year just in fees. So that's things that you got to look at. That's the utility, right? Is this blockchain going to suit my purpose for what I want? If you're coming from a business standpoint, and for most people like us, we're like, well, no, we want to use it because we want to store value in there so that we can use it at a future time, and B, potentially get an increase in value on it. Now, you've got to be wise in the way in which you do that too. We can talk about that behind closed doors. Again, if you want to know more about me, who I am, what I do, who I help, then you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. Jump on over there and grab the free stuff that I've got there. It's useful. Believe me, it is useful. So we've talked about utility. What about hype? Hypers like the Hawk Tour Girl. They push up a coin, they pump up a coin, and even to the meme coins, for a lack of a better example, is they run largely on hype. They will have groups and syndicates of people that will say, hey, you should buy this coin. So if you ever get added to a group on Telegram that says, hey, this coin, da-da-da-da-da, it's probably going to be a rug pull. Now, not always. There are some legit people that do that. Not really. But if you ever get added by someone to a group without your knowledge, and all of a sudden you're getting all this information, chances are you're in a pump and dump group. They're going to hype you up. And if you've ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street, they run a boiler room where they'd sell penny stocks. It's the same thing happening in crypto. And the problem being, and I'm not necessarily an advocate for government intervention. I'm definitely not. But the problem being in the space, it's both its superpower and its Achilles heel, is the fact that it's unregulated. And that is changing. There is more regulation coming in. So all the fun police are going to go, oh, you can't do that. If you're still in the DeFi space, there's still ways. And that's why I'm definitely an advocate for the DeFi space. But sadly, it does bring a lot of predators and sharks to the water that say, hey, these people don't actually know anything about crypto. They don't know anything about DeFi. We could tell them this, bang. And sadly, that actually gives legitimate projects a bad name too. We start talking about, really, do we go there? Okay, we're talking about Ponzi's and things like that, and pyramid schemes. Most people don't know what a Ponzi scheme is. They could give you the definition. Well, it's when the first person pays the second person pays the third, and eventually that money runs out. Yes, that is absolutely right. But most people misunderstand product and go, well, that's clearly a Ponzi scheme because you're getting paid for me coming into the ecosystem. No, that's just a sale. That's just a transaction. If the product works in and of itself, if it fulfills its function without needing anybody else's input, that's a product. Therefore, that negates anything being a Ponzi scheme. And if we're talking about pyramids, oh my God, have you seen how the banking system works? Have you seen how corporate America or a corporate structure works? Have you seen how a school works? It's got the headmaster, then it's got the head faculty, head of departments, and then it's got all the people under that, and it kind of looks like a pyramid. So yeah, people don't know. They're just parroting and quoting something. But that's another thing. Okay, so we've talked about fungibility. We've talked about utility versus hype. We've talked about coins versus tokens. Hopefully by now you can tell the difference between the two. Just looking at some of these comments in there. Great to see your interaction, guys. I really love it. Appreciate you being here. And again, if you want to find out more about me, who I am, what I do, who I help, then you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. Yeah, the school structure is a perfect example, Jane. It really is. And funnily enough, I might have already said this on a call, or maybe not, but I did. I said it on day one. If we read the Communist Manifesto, it actually says it takes 12 years to indoctrinate someone. 12 years to indoctrinate someone. I'll just leave you with that and ask you to think about what other systems you go through in your life, like maybe from the age of 5, do you plug into for about 12 years? I'll just leave you with that one. We've talked about coins, we've talked about tokens, we've talked about NFTs and fungibility, non-fungible. We've talked about utility versus hype. What about the network effect? Why do some tokens or coins stick? And this is a kicker. This is a really, really important one. Why is it a really important one? Well, because obviously you want to be able to pick the coins or the tokens that are going to work. Now, if we think about it, there is a bit of a clue in the title of that. Coins. Remember, what's the difference between a coin and a token? Just sit with it for a minute. What's the difference between a coin and a token? A coin, native to the chain. Token, built on the chain. Now, I'm not saying this is a hard and fast rule, but I would suggest that if you're looking for something that probably has long-term potential, look for the coins that are native to a chain. So it could be new chains, it could be old chains that are starting to get traction, but that's the things you want to look at. Now, I'm not saying that tokens aren't going to work. Obviously, the USDT, USDC, and other tokens, other stable tokens, other DAI is another stable token that runs for MakerDAO. They've got their own token as well, to be fair. If they've got good infrastructure, good intent behind them, this comes into what utility does the token play, and the development team behind it, what problems are they solving, then you can look at that and go, this is probably a good project. But if we come back to what I said before about coins, look at the native blockchain. Again, who's the development team behind it? How long have they been in development? What are their development goals? What is the utility of their coin? And for most part, the utility of their coin will be gas on, or fees on, their own blockchain, on their own decentralized exchange if they have one. If they're true DeFi, they'll probably have their own decentralized exchange, which also, by the way, and this is going into a slightly different topic, is where the price gets set from, the DEX. So if you're mining a specific mining a specific coin for a native blockchain, then you, as the miner, play a part in dictating what that price looks like. Because if you mine it and sell it, then you're going to dump the price. But if you mine it and hold it and make it scarce on the market, that means the price of it's probably going to go up. Just something to think about. So the more people that use that network, the more useful it becomes. The more people that use that network, the more useful it becomes. So if you can bring more people into it, and if you can show, if you can get the good publicity, the good PR, the good news that is out in the marketplace to say, this is what this blockchain will do, this is why it will do it, and people start coming to it. I am involved in a project that is the fastest growing in 2025, biggest community in the world, 2025, and the blockchain has real utility, has real function. And because of that, well, probably set up pretty good for the future. Not financial advice, by the way. In fact, anything you hear on this call, this live stream, whatever you want to call it, podcast. We're doing a podcast. No, we're not. We're just having a chat. We're just having a coffee. But anything you hear on here shouldn't be taken as financial advice. I'm just sharing my experience. I'm just sharing what's worked for me. I'm sharing some education around the DeFi and the blockchain space. So if you want to know more about that, as I've already said a couple of times now, go to drewsdaily.com, fill out the form, grab the sovereign wealth kit, the DeFi checklist, go through and just have a play. And again, if you land on one page or the other, because there is two, and you want the other, just message me and I'll flick you through the other as well. There's no problem with that. So if we go back to now, maybe this is an interactive game. Maybe this will backfire on my face because there's only a few people watching, but still, who remembers what the first social media, and here's a clue in what I'm about to ask, who remembers what the first social media space was? The first social media place that we could go to online and we could chat. Who remembers what that was? Chuck it in the comments if you can remember. Could be waiting a long time for that. But of course, we're here, you're listening, or you're either on YouTube, or you're on TikTok, or you're on Facebook. They're the three places that I'm streaming to right this second. And TikTok's on my device, on my phone, and YouTube and Facebook are here from my Mac. Now, the first tech company, or the first social media space, was MySpace. It was first to market. But it's not there anymore, is it? Because better infrastructure came. Facebook came. We're here. Facebook came. We're watching this on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube. But it took over. I can't, but I joined it prior to Facebook. Yeah. Facebook wasn't the first, but it's close. It's close. But Facebook's the one we remember. So that's a really good example. Same tech, different impact. Facebook gave real community, gave real contact. And if you've ever watched the movie The Social Network, of course, Jesse Edler, well, Mark Zuckerberg, Jesse Edler's character, he said, people, relationship status, that was the piece de resistance. It was the last piece for him to be able to launch the Facebook at the time, right? He goes, people want to know who's going out with who's getting laid and who's not. That's pretty much, I'm paraphrasing the line, but that's pretty much what he said. That gave that connection that MySpace was unable to. Now, they tried, they just didn't do it as well. So same tech, different result, very, very different result. Here we are in 2025, and people here on this call can't even remember what MySpace was. Facebook's not that old. It launched in 2009, and it only launched around the same time as Bitcoin. What a coincidence. It only launched to students, and it was exclusive. So people wanted to be in it. Now there's over 1 billion users worldwide. Crazy, huh? So that's what we want to look at, the network effect, why some coins and tokens stick. What's the usability? What problems do they solve? Are there companies that are going to use them? These are all things that you probably should look at, right? Now, here's where people come unstuck. If you can answer these questions, then potentially you should be able to look in. Or when I say if you can answer these questions, or you provided the information that gives you the answers, then it's probably okay for you to look into. But most people jump into a coin, and I gave you an example yesterday. You know, when I first got into the space, I bought Digicoin. I had no idea. I still have no idea what that freaking coin is supposed to do. That token is supposed to do. I have no idea. That was another one built on the Ethereum chain. I have no idea what it's supposed to do. But I bought it. I made some money on it. I lucked out. That's exactly what I did. I just lucked out. It just happened to be that, hey, yeah, I made some money. In fact, I doubled my money. So if I'd have had $10,000 in it, I would have had 20,000, but I didn't. I only had a couple hundred in it. So I got 400 back. And whatever the figures were, I doubled my money anyway. That can happen and does regularly. So that's something else you can look at within the coins or the tokens that you're looking at. Like people go, I've got to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, it's probably still got some ways to go. But if I put $100,000 or $10,000 in Bitcoin, for me to double it, Bitcoin has to go to $200,000. If I put $10,000 in a coin that's worth $1, for example, and it goes to $2, I've still made $20,000. And it isn't that big a move. In all likelihood, the coin that's only $1 is going to reach $2 faster than Bitcoin's going to go from 100,000 to 200,000. So Bitcoin's good, don't get me wrong, if you're into that. But there's other tokens that you could, or coins that you could look at that will give you a better return. But the problem with that is most people don't do their research on it. They just do surface level stuff like, oh, everyone's jumping into that, I'm going to buy it too, bang. And that brings us back to the Hawk Tour girl. The same thing happened. It's like, yeah, this is going to be the next Bitcoin. It's going to go moonshot. We're going to buy Lamborghinis. No. They're lucky now to be given food stamps to be able to eat, the people that got into that, which is very, very sad. I shouldn't laugh at that. And I'm not laughing at that specifically. But you've got to be careful. You do have to be careful. And it depends on where your risk profile's at. Maybe you tolerate a lot of risk. Maybe you don't tolerate any. Maybe you sit in the same place and worry that people were going to judge you. Hey, guess what? I'll give you a clue. People are going to judge you. They're going to judge you no matter what. So you might as well go out and do what you want to do and live your life. That is advice. Go out and do what you want to do, live your life, because people are going to freaking judge you anyway. Every day of the week. Here's the thing though. The people that are judging you are doing so because they're so freaking miserable with their own life. They'd rather throw stones at someone else than deal with their own mummy issues or daddy issues or whatever. Fill in the blank. It's never about you. If somebody's judging you, it's never about you. It's about their own insecurities. They're projecting, they're vomiting their insecurities onto you. Oh, Dion Jensen. How you doing, brother? Yep, positioning is key, Dion. Absolutely. Awesome, awesome. Tarangi, great to have you here with us this morning. Appreciate you. And I'll be back tomorrow too, same time. Well, similar time. It might always, I mean, it's been 6:30 for the last few days, and this morning it was like 6:15. It might even get earlier, who knows? Good for Kiwis, because it's 8, right? Not so much for, and not bad for the Netherlands either, Trish, if you're still here watching. Yep. There was a little gnat. I had to get it. Anyway, I got it. Yes, absolutely, Trish. Let them judge. We will have the last laugh. 100%. Yeah, Dion. Yep, need to know how to research coins and tokens. Yeah, yep. The key is research them. Don't get wrecked. The don't get wrecked rule, this is what it's written up, the don't get wrecked rule. Most people invest without knowing what the token does, what the coin does, what utility does it play. And right now, if we break it down, if we break down the top 2, the top 3, top 4, we know that Bitcoin has been marketed as a store of value, digital gold. And I said on the first day, really, that's not necessarily the case anymore because of the NFTs and everything that go, not the NFTs, sorry, the ETFs, which I was corrected by Michael David Johnson. Hope you're around, bro. It's not an electronic traded fund. It was a slip of the tongue. It is an exchange traded fund. So there's ETFs they're already running by the likes of the Big Five, BlackRock, Grayscale, Vanguard, the US government, although they're not running their NFTs, but they are one of the top 5 holders. So with that advent, it's no longer the store of value that it once was, because as much as you'll never ever have custody, if you're buying through an ETF, you'll never have custody, your own custody of Bitcoin, which kind of defeats the purpose of the DeFi and decentralized space and blockchain, because it's meant to be the people's money. Well, if there's 5 companies, corporates controlling it, it's no longer the people's money, is it? So you've got to look at that. And we look at Ethereum. Similar deal, although there's ETFs now available on that. If we look at XRP, there's ETFs now available on that. And the other one of the top 4 is USDT, because, and that even that market's starting to drop because so many people use it worldwide. But there's a, no, I won't get into that, because that will just, I mean, I don't want to cause any FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt for those that don't know. So don't chase shiny coins. Don't chase shiny tokens. Don't get into something because your mate down at the pub went, oh, I've heard a sure thing. That's the surefire way to lose your wealth. People want to get rich, and they want to get rich quick. Wait one. See you, bro. My boy's off to work. They grow up so quick, don't they? He's giving me a look. He's giving me a look. Now he's sulking. I'm trying to say goodbye to him. He just keeps walking away from me. Oh, it's getting his pods. See you, mate. Love you, buddy. Right, so where were we? They don't understand. Yeah, no, lost it. Doesn't matter. Probably wasn't important, and if it was, it'll come back to me. That's him there in the corner. You guys on TikTok won't be able to see it, but you guys on Facebook and YouTube can. He's a good-looking lad. Anyway, where are we at? We are at that time. So, guys, again, if you want to know more about me, who I am, what I do, who I help, head over to drewsdaily.com. There's a couple of worksheets there. If you want both, but you only get one, message me and I will send you access to the other one as well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up right now. My wife's just giving me a funny look. We're about the 40-minute mark, so we're pretty close. We're pretty good. But I'm going to wrap this up right now. If you found value in what you've heard today, you can follow me over on my socials at Instagram, Andrew Hawks Online, TikTok, Andrew Hawks Online. And of course, if you're here on Facebook, you're already following me here. And I look forward to talking to you real soon. But if you have found value, make sure you share this, give it to other people. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, same time. Well, similar time, same place, probably, because it's on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. Anyway, he kone rā, ka kite anō. We'll see you again.